Welcome back, boys and girls. It's the Gold Zone. We've got Jace Sternberger with us in the background. Boys and girls, let's hit it. Oh, what a beautiful start. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Gold Zone. I am your host this evening. I am Jacob Westendorf, joined as always by Jacob Morley. But the guest of honor tonight, Green Bay Packers tight end, number 87 in your program, but number 1 as far as I am concerned. That is Jace Sternberger. Jace, it's been a bit. I think the last time we talked was just before camp started. So it's been a little while, but how you doing? How's Texas? How's the offseason treating you?
Yeah, it's been a while. Doing good. Texas, I think we survived our first ever ice storm and like power outage and everything. Like I said, I was lucky. I was good through that. Like I said, I'd say I'm pretty well trained in driving in snow and ice and whatnot. I was honestly thinking about doing some driving classes. I was gonna just offer people driving lessons up at the parking lot at the Kroger, just see if I could just see if I could
a couple extra bucks.
Yeah, just spread the love and help people out, because it wasn't comical because there were some like fender benders and stuff, but it was actually kind of funny watching people try to drive in this like it was, the end of times.
Yeah, Jace, I got to go off script here and because after watching that intro, it dawned on me. So the Gold Zone is after what you guys called the Red Zone, and from our knowledge, it's from Coach Hackett, basically talking about the Gold Zone going to the Austin Powers. And it cracks me up because, Jace, you were probably in grade school. You and a lot of your teammates were probably in 4th, 5th, 6th grade when the Austin Powers Gold Member movie came out. So how was that received in the locker room? Like, how did that become such a huge deal?
Well, honestly, like I kind of grew up on those movies. Like my first movie I ever watched as a kid was Joe Dirt. Like that's what we started off at my house, and so like
Legend.
I've seen all the Austin Powers and stuff. So when I found out that Coach Hackett was into that, I was like, "Yo, this is exciting! This is going to be fun." And I think the first year we were doing it, the defense really had no idea what we were talking about at first. Like because it wasn't public knowledge really. It was just like the offensive meeting room on Fridays. That was Gold Zone day, and so it slowly just started growing on everybody. But I mean, I think at first everybody on the offense, like you said, some people haven't necessarily seen the movie or understood it, but then like by now everybody knows it, and just based off the scenes that he shows and some of the slideshows and whatnot, I would give props to a lot of the offensive players being able to quote the whole movie pretty close. So like I said, I loved it. I dressed up as Gold Member last year for Halloween. Like I bought the whole costume and everything. We had a contest last year, so I was trying to win. Like, I mean, when I had to call my agent, he helped me find something that looks just as it could, and I ended up giving it to Coach Hackett. I don't even know what he did with it, but I just felt like he deserved it more than me.
So how does he introduce that too? Because the way that it's been explained by some of your teammates, like he's obsessed with that movie. So how does that whole concept come about?
I mean, honestly, it was really no like warm up. He kind of just, like I said, it feels like forever ago when he first introduced it to us, but it was just his turn. It was his turn because the coaches rotate on install days who installs what, and then we go to the red zone, and like I think he did some dramatic thing where he like crossed out the red and then threw up the gold and showed a couple of slideshows and made a couple of jokes about it, and then he started at first. He's educating us about it. Like where does Gold Member party? What's so unique about him? Where's he from? Stuff like that. And then it just turned into like it just kept growing and growing. And then like I said, I feel like everybody's pretty aware of 12 sense of humor and stuff. And once 12 bought in and like really, I think that turned Coach Hackett up another notch. And like then the jokes, and like I said, that Fridays are by far the best day of the week.
That's awesome. That's so cool to hear that type of insight, because just as fans watching, like, it's cool to hear it even goes back beyond this year. It really took off. It really took off this year. It was a lot of fun for everybody watching as well. But let's jump into this season, Jace, just because I know last time we talked, we were talking about goals. We were talking about this and that heading into the season. And this season, got off to a rocky start for you with you. And you guys watching, Jay showed up with the mask on his face just to make sure he's still being safe from COVID and all that stuff. But, you had COVID this year, the concussion, the strep throat you talked about as well. Just talk to us a little bit, about this season and how it went for you.
Man, it was definitely it was a learning experience for sure. And I would really say it depends what perspective you look at it. When it comes to the side of producing and, like I said, all the goals that I talked about and all the things that I was working so hard in the off season for, a lot of that was kind of taken out of control of my hands. And so, it was a learning aspect, and it was tough at certain times, but the mental side of things, this was probably the best season I've ever had, just because, like I said, it's different when you make mistakes on your own, and you do things, maybe you mess up or you mess up on a play here, but when stuff's uncontrollable and it's like, you're just left to deal with it, there's not a lot you can do. And so, that taught a lot of self-discipline on me about, just really trusting the process. And at times it made me really fall in love with football even more, just because, like I said, when I had a concussion, I started off season with COVID. So it was like, I felt fine. Like I remember going to the facility, doing my testing, seeing the guys, how refreshing it was. And then they called me the next morning, and then I was out for 12, 13 days with COVID. So it's like, I'm just sitting at home, not losing any of my training, but at the same time, it's like, I'm definitely not getting the mental reps. I'm not just being with the guys, the camaraderie and all of that. So, it stunk. And then coming back to camp, already missed, a couple of weeks. And luckily, we did the ramp up period, but, we're still doing our little walkthroughs and installs. And so, it was definitely a setback, but like I said, I'm used to stuff like that where, you just got to put your head down and work. And then, I finally started after the Detroit game. I'm not going to blame any of my mistakes on COVID, whatever, but, I definitely did feel a difference coming back, just the conditioning aspect of things, just my breathing. Cause like I said earlier, I really didn't have any symptoms, like in the sense of body aches, or there's been so much stuff with COVID. I really don't even know what the symptoms are anymore, because everybody has a different experience. But the biggest thing I noticed for me coming back was conditioning. That first day, like I felt great. I'm like, okay, I'm excited. And I think I ran like 2 routes. I just looked at our strength coach and I was like, yeah, something's still not right. Like this isn't normal. Like I'm in good shape too. So I was like, it was interesting. Like I said, so then getting in that groove, that was really, after that New Orleans game, it was really nice. And I was like, okay, this is, there's not a lot. And then he said body staying healthy, and then Philadelphia game comes around and then get the concussion. And so I'm like, geez, here we go again. Cause I've literally never have had a concussion. Then last year I get hit in camp and get a concussion. Then this year it was just a weird incident. Cause if you go watch the tape, it really didn't even look like I got hit that hard. And he literally just, I don't know if it was his foot, his knee, his shin, but it just caught me right in the soft spot. And then, that's one of those things. It's not like a sprained ankle where you can just kind of, even if you feel 75%, you can just hop back in. It's the brain we're talking about. So it's like, there'd be days where I thought I was feeling great. And then, like I said, all of a sudden something would just trigger and I'm having horrible headaches. And then this concussion was different though, because the first concussion, it was more motor skills. Like I wasn't myself in the sense of like my response, answering questions, this and that. This time around, it was like my balance. Like I couldn't stand on one leg for about 8 to 9 days, like where it was just, wow. And for someone who's considers himself fairly athletic and is used to playing football against some of the best players in the league, like I felt really weird, like not being able just to balance on my left leg. And so, I just had to take it slow. And, of course, everybody was having opinions on, my process coming back and stuff. But luckily, like I said, our coaches are great, and they were nothing but supportive of me. And then so I missed like 3.5 weeks with that, and so now I'm supposed to come back the Chicago game, Chicago or Tennessee week, one of the 2 weeks. It gets confused. And then I wake up that Tuesday morning and I told my trainer the night before, 'cause I was getting my body worked on. I was like, I just don't feel right. I feel like my throat was getting a little itchy. It just didn't feel right. And I woke up that next morning, had 104 fever.
Holy.
Yeah, and so I'm just like, holy shit! Like, do I have another round of COVID? What is this about to be? And yeah, so like I still haven't got to practice yet. I still haven't got to do my ramp up period from my concussion. Now it's like another setback with COVID, and so like I said, and it wasn't like I was doing anything. I was at the house every night because we already have our COVID restrictions in place. So it was literally just a freak incident both times, and so and like I said, so it was one of the things that just taught me a lot of things of being patient and really not being negative in any sense. Like I said, it's you can't really feel sorry for yourself because like I said, in the time that I was hurt and then all of this went down, we got the number 1 seed. We're playing the best football we've played all year. Like and it stunk because I felt like I was really coming into my own after the Indianapolis game. Like I said, it was even though it was a tough loss, but I just felt like that's when I knew that we were going to be really, really good because they were a physical team. And, there's a lot of, I think, I just remember bulletin board material, like Colin Cowher talking about how Green Bay is not physical and we won't match up well against Indianapolis, this and that. And like, that it just like, I always try to play with a chip on my shoulder because I like proving people wrong. And so, when that happened, it was, like I said, I was excited and everything, and then to have the concussion and the strep, it was unfortunate. But like I said, I was happy for our guys. They stepped up in their opportunities, and it just shows that everyone on our team comes to work every day. And so like I said, I feel like it's going to make me a better player in the long run after dealing with all of that.
So anybody who makes fun of Colin Cowherd is going to be a friend of this show, first and foremost. I've got to throw that in there. So I do appreciate that. Secondly, you brought up the Indianapolis game, and a couple of you guys, Jamal Williams said something similar, Aaron Rodgers after that game. You guys actually said you felt encouraged after a loss like that. What was it specifically about that game specific? Because obviously, I mean, it was a game you guys had a relatively sizable lead, and then that evaporated. Then it's a devastating loss in overtime, or at least from a fan's perspective. Obviously, I felt like crap for 3 days after that, and I'm not even playing in the damn thing. So how do you guys, transfer that into something good? And what did you see in that game that you're like, hey man, we might be a championship kind of team?
I think, and this is just from the offensive perspective, at least a young guy's perspective, was that Indianapolis defense is very, very good. Like I said, Darius Leonard, very fast. Their whole team is very fast and physical. And so we knew all week it was going to be a great challenge for us. And then honestly, like Aaron's preached throughout the year, just like having the fans and the making it feel normal. We knew going into the week that Indianapolis was going to have fans. And so we already knew that Green Bay was going to travel really well. And so, we were just excited, and we were like, we're getting, this wasn't like a week 3 matchup or a week 2 matchup. It's somewhat later in the season, and playoffs were going to be right around the corner. So like, we were really excited because number 1 defense or whatever they were ranked. We think we're the number 1 offense at the time. I don't know what statistically numbers we were at the time, but this was a game where we were going to see how good we were, and then so it was it was a really exciting challenge. And then just being in the game and like the first drive, I think that's when we muffed the snap and we fumbled, and we had adversity, and it wasn't like we were our mistakes were against a bad team. It was a great team we were playing. So just coming together, like there was just something in the air. I can't even really put it in perspective, but it was just like, okay, like, yeah, we're actually really flipping good, and this is going to be fun. So, the loss, it stunk, and, and MVS, he was really upset about the play and stuff, but like I said, I was more encouraged with him after the play he made, I think, 4 plays before when he caught that bomb from Aaron and stuff. And, just as a team, we all rallied around each other. And, like it was one of those, you never have moral victories or anything, but, that was one of those games where it's like, yeah, we lost, but, I don't think we're going to let that happen again. And I think we won 7 in a row after that. And I just knew after that game, like I said, it was going to be a special run.
Yeah, no doubt. That was a lot of fun. Just after the game, like Jacob said, everyone's kind of like, that sucks. But just the positivity that was coming out of the locker room was really neat. And then you guys backed it up too. You went on that run and basically just did say like, yeah, that was the #1 defense in the NFL, and we can hang points on them seemingly at will. We're gonna be able to do it to anybody.
Right.
So that was pretty awesome. Moving on from last season, kind of looking forward to this next season. And Jace, I'm gonna give you a little Coach Hackett history lesson here to set this question up. The Packers, the last 2 times the Packers have spent a first-round draft pick on a quarterback, both those guys are in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if you know this or not, but the Packers did select a quarterback in the first round last year. And as Packers fans, we have seen Jordan Love throw one football into a freaking net. That's it. That's all we've seen.
Yeah.
So with him being a first-round draft pick, like, what's it going to be? Is he either going to be the greatest of all time, or is he going to be a Hall of Famer? Like, which is it going to be? Because he's got that. Those are the shoes he's got to fill.
Right.
But no, really, and to give you an out, how I mean, just give us something. How did this kid look? Or was he even getting reps in practice, or is it pretty much, hey, 12, you're the starting quarterback, you're taking 99% of the reps?
Yeah, I mean, just from the video that the Packers put out the next day of Bakatari, doing talking about scout team reps and stuff, then I mean, I don't think no one ever worried about if 12 was going to be the quarterback or if Jordan Love was going to get reps from him. I think the coaches in them viewed it as a great teaching time for Jordan, just because Jordan has all the tools to be great, and we didn't have to force him to play or rush anything, and unless injuries, but you never prepare for injuries really. So like I said, I love Jordan. Like I said, he came to work every day, asked a lot of questions. He's pretty quiet, and I know 12 and Tim, they give him a hard time about that sometime, and they would make Jordan speak up at certain points and stuff. And so, like I said, you never know what rookies are going to be like, because through the combine prep, they get brainwashed on everything what every team wants to hear, and they're pretty filtered. And so when they get thrown in, they finally start being themselves, and you get in that routine of showing up every day. It's like you start to be yourself a little more, and everybody loved Jordan. Like I said, he's a great kid. Like I said, I more than anybody I feel like I got a good experience with him, just because, one, when I was coming back from injury, obviously I was doing scout team reps just to get my conditioning back up, and so, like I said, I watched him grow as a player, and he spent so much time with the quarterbacks coach, Coach Getzy, after practice, just asking him extra questions, just working on fundamentals and stuff. And so, like I said, I'm really excited to see what he can do whenever his opportunities come. And I don't, it's hard speaking on the future on what's going to happen on certain things, just because, like I said, you really don't know what your opportunities are ever going to be. Like you said, an injury could happen, or, I'm not saying a trade with Jordan, but just anybody can get traded at any time, So It's like you never know what a player's opportunity will be in the NFL and stuff. And so, like I said, I'm excited for him, because, like I said, he has all the tools, all the work ethic, and all the everything a coach wants and whatnot. And I think the players really enjoyed working with him this year.
Let's steer back to you. You mentioned that, that filtered down thing. You obviously got to experience a real combine and a real off season to some degree. What was that? I'll call it the rookie hazing period. Not that anybody treated you poorly or anything like that, but that adjustment period that you had with guys like, Jimmy and Mercedes and Rob Tunyon and some of the guys in the locker room. How long did it take for that adjustment for you coming in as the new guy and to get acclimated to that group in the tight end room?
Jimmy, not so much. Jimmy was funny from day one. Like he's very vocal. I shouldn't say very vocal if he's going to be around you a lot. And like I said, I was with him every day. So as you can hear that truck, he feels like he needed to speed while I was doing my interview. So that was nice of him.
He clearly doesn't know who you are.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll have to roll down the window and let him know. No, but like I said, Jimmy was great last year. Believe it or not, like I said, as you guys found out, everyone was pronouncing Rob's name wrong for years. So following that up, he's pretty quiet. So at first, like I said, him and Mercedes were both, very, not to themselves, but, just very calm, just very, Yeah, like Mercedes, he needed to fill me out first and see if I really wanted to be there and what my work ethic was going to be. And so once he figured out who I was and stuff and that I really do want to be there, he started, opening up a little more and started, putting me on game in certain things when I would ask questions. And like I said, our tight end room was great. And it all starts with the coach, J.O., like I said, he said from day one, that we're all going to be a family and like what stays in our room stays in our room. And, we can talk about anything. It doesn't have to be football and stuff. And like I said, not to get off subject, but I mean, when I was going through my COVID and stuff, and like I was kind of struggling that first week back at camp, just getting acclimated. Like I remember we were supposed to have an install day, and like I just kind of spoke out one day, and I was just kind of telling where my head was at, and that not that I'm struggling, but it's just like, hey, I'm dealing with this, and I just wanted to hear what Rob and Mercedes had to say, and like and all that. And I mean, we didn't even go. And this was like 40 minutes before we get ready for practice, and we didn't even do an install that day. We just simply just sat down and we just talked about everything, just about being grown men and whatnot. So I mean, that's what was unique about our position room is, yes, we are there to play football, and yes, we have to produce, but at the same time, we're all human beings, and if you're not right in the head mentally, we can't be the best we want to be as a group. And so, that's what I was very thankful for in our position group. And even the first year with Jimmy there and stuff, with Jimmy, it was a little more playing around in the sense of like we had more tight end fines and stuff. Like we had a fine board on certain things you could and couldn't do. Not bad, not like dictatorship, but just funny stuff. And so, but this year it was definitely more business, but it was for the better.
Man, I love that you bring up the human element of being a professional football player, just because we don't get to see that as much. And I know there's stuff you guys go through on a weekly basis that can affect, and you talk about, I'm a pro, I'm supposed to perform on Sundays, but you're a human too, so
Right.
You hear that stuff. And I mean, there's another team that, or just another team that I cover, and just hearing about, I know there's a game this last year where this particular player didn't perform very well, and talking to one of their coaches, just kind of talking about like, he had like some personal stuff going on, like with like his girlfriend and stuff like that. Like in his headspace was just weird, So I like hearing that kind of stuff just because it makes you guys so much more relatable. But speaking of relatable, and let's get to the fun stuff here, man. You had a tweet. You had a tweet a couple weeks. Was it last week or a couple weeks ago, where you said people look at you crazy when you order biscuits and gravy?
Yeah, I was really making fun of my girlfriend, and like I said, because it just like I said, my cook, like I said, I'm back in training now, so I'm back to eating clean or trying to eat clean, whatever. Biscuits and gravy is obviously not the most healthiest breakfast you can have, but for my figure, it has much calories. I think my dad told me this when I was 10 years old, and I don't know if I should apply it now because I'm almost 25, but he was like, Jace, as much calories as you burn and a growing boy, he's like, you just eat whatever you want, it's going to burn off. And I was like, I'm still playing football. I'm still doing that. So that's when he was saying it. So I was like, I'm going to keep letting me eat what I want. But I've been trying to clean it up. But I just remember I ordered biscuits and gravy one time, and like her and her friend looked at me and they were like, you country ass. And I was like, what? I was like, what? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, they wouldn't have this on the menu if like other people don't order this. And I just remember like, there's been multiple times like I've been at restaurants, not necessarily Green Bay, but just certain places like they don't even have it on the menu, and they'll kind of look at me like when I ordered it the first time. And granted, her friend is from Louisiana, but she thought it was gonna be like brown gravy was gonna come back on it, and I was like, no, and that's one of my favorite foods. Anytime it could be, like I said, I could probably eat biscuits.
Oh yeah, breakfast for dinner, man. Breakfast for dinner. Yeah, people don't understand. Like, so I grew up in North Dakota, and like biscuits and gravy is not a thing until I moved to Kansas City. It's still not as pronounced as I think it is in the South, but man, I remember my first plate of biscuits and gravy, and I thought the same thing. You know, like, man, this has got sausage, and some have eggs in it, and then
and that's
you can't beat it.
Like I eat so much biscuits and gravy where it's like I could do blogs about it, just like judging other people gravy and whatnot, because like I've had some bad batches, unfortunately, but like my parents were both really good cooks, and so like my dad, like I said, he'll cut the sausage up in the gravy, like I said, we do it right every time, like Like I love, like you said, breakfast for dinner. I think breakfast food, but second to Mexican because I can do street tacos, enchiladas, all that any day of the week. But breakfast food, I could eat that probably any day of the week.
Every meal.
Let's so you've been in Wisconsin now. This is going on year 3. Have you heard when I say cannibal sandwich, does that mean anything to you?
No.
Don't feel bad. I didn't know what it was until today either. And I lived there for a couple years myself. So
this is, I mean, it basically is like what it sounds like. It's a raw ground beef.
It does not
sandwich.
sound like that, but go on.
So our buddy, I know you know Bukowski, Peter Bukowski. I had to ask him because he's a Wisconsinite. So I said, dude, describe this to me. What is it? And so this is his description. It's raw meat on bread. It's Midwest steak tartar. You get fresh ground sirloin and put it on a rye crisp, or if you feel Chippewa Falls, that means nothing to me. Or you just go white bread. You put a little onion in it, maybe you put some Dijon in it. So basically, it's raw ground beef, mustard, onion on a sandwich. And I guess like people in Wisconsin go nuts for this. So yeah, like tartar. I don't know how to say it, man. Like someone's correcting me in the comments. I have no idea what this is. Y'all are eating raw meat, but I mean that's just so
raw.
You're gonna have to ask some of the guys now. Like, do you know what this is? Because it's a Christmas time thing. So I know like the FDA or whatever the food department is came out and basically said around Christmas time, like, hey, we actually advise that you don't eat this. And so. So yeah, as you can imagine, sounds
like the best thing, but like I'm not gonna knock it until I at least see it. Like
you're more adventurous than I am, man.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say try it. I said see it. I gotta look at it because I'm a big texture person, and like if I can't, I guess I don't judge a book by cover, but when it comes to food, I pretty much do.
Yeah,
and I'm wrong a lot of times. Like there's been foods that I like. Like I said, I'm 24. I just started eating guacamole like a year and a half ago. So I judged that. I was wrong about that for years, and I openly admit when I'm wrong. So, but that didn't sound the most appetizing right now.
No, they lost me at raw meat. There's no way.
Yeah.
So Jace, we only got you for.
I can eat some red meat too. Like I love like my steaks need to be bloody and all that, but I can't do the raw meat.
Nope.
See, there's people in the comments too that are just like,
old people apparently love it. You're a picky eater. Old people love it. Don't try it during the season. I agree with this because as much bad luck as you had with getting sick, getting hurt, all that good stuff, you'll have food poisoning for 3 weeks if your luck continues.
Sick, I'd like set myself up for failure.
We got Sternberger down this week because he had a cannibal sandwich, and now he's got.
And then they'll blame us.
I would for sure, like I said, just because, like I said, I don't want to make the people mad. I would definitely try it because, like I said, I am becoming a Green Bay resident. I'm going on year 3. So if there is someone who is known for making very good cannibal sandwiches, I would probably give it a try, like a hard 70%.
A hard 70%. 70%.
It could. The best time, I'm not going to lie, we should probably do it after a game and
before the bye week.
Maybe not sober. Then we can try it.
Yeah. There you go. I can. I'll ask. Bukowski told us that there's like a whole black market you need to go to as well. Like you have to go to a specific like butcher where like they do it the right way, where it's safer. So right. I'll hook you up with him. He said he's got some connections. We'll get cannibal sandwiches for everybody, for the whole team. It'd be like juice boxes. So let's run Jace through the food gauntlet here. We got some food questions for you, and kind of specific Wisconsin type questions. So Jacob, let's get it rolling here, buddy.
Yeah, let's get to something that's actually edible because you may not judge a book by its cover when it comes to food, but I absolutely do. And once he said raw meat, I was like, no, I like my steaks bloody just like you do, and just like any other. First of all, disclaimer here, guys. If you eat, God did not kill our cows to have you cook your steak well done. That's not a thing. So if you do that, you have a problem.
They sell beef jerky at the stores.
Exactly. You ain't supposed to grill it that way. So let's go through this, Jace. We've got cheese curds. Do you prefer them fried like at Culver's or something like that, or cold like you get at a Quick Trip?
Haven't had them cold, but I'll never turn down something fried. I love the fried cheese curds.
You country ass.
Oh my gosh.
Fried foods.
Oh, I'm with you on that. Okay, so bratwurst is like a staple when it comes to Wisconsin. Obviously, Johnsonville's big in the Wisconsin area. First of all, do you like bratwurst? Yeah. Okay, good. So what are your toppings on a brat? What do you put on it?
I think I had my first bratwurst. Like I said, I don't know if that's a Wisconsin thing or like, but that's like a staple tailgate food in Oklahoma. Well, I mean, the tailgates I always went to, they always had bratwurst. But I get my bratwurst and then I put Cavender seasoning on them, cook them up, and then I just put mustard on it. I don't like sauerkraut.
Yep.
No. Do you broil them
only?
Do you broil them in beer?
I've had them before. I'm not that talented yet where I know how to broil and like marinate. Or I guess I just am either lazy or don't have enough time, one or the other. But yeah, I think my dad's maybe done that a couple times.
Tell your pops, do it right. You do it right, you change your life. It was something that we didn't do for a while, but once we did, oh my God, I can't eat them that way anymore. No, nope. Jake, what's our next one we got here?
Favorite. So we kind of touched on tailgate foods with brats, and it might be brats, but what is your favorite tailgate food?
Honestly, probably bratwurst. Like I could eat those. I'll do some damage on those. There's always a good dip there. I feel like either, I think they call it hillbilly queso, where we just put like ground beef in it.
Hell yeah. Yep.
Like that's just solid food. And like I said, I don't really remember my tailgates as a kid that much, but I know as I've gotten older, like I said, I'm usually partaking in some drinking. So those foods always, go really well with it. And it's just a nice taste overall.
Let's go to, well, you mentioned that perfectly. So it goes with drinking. What's your beverage choice?
If it's beer, it's probably going to be, I'm either Pacifico or Miller Lite. It just depends the environment I'm at. But if it's liquor, it's for sure going to be tequila.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Gosh.
But I do, like I said, I have one of my best friends. He's a big whiskey guy. So that's what our position coach, that's what he's known for. So I'll try certain brands and stuff. So I do appreciate good whiskey, and I'm not really big on scotch and stuff. So I think, other than that, I don't know a lot of others. No vodka.
Spotted
Scotch.
Cow.
I tried that for the first time. That's heavy, or at least I think so. I might be considered a sissy in Wisconsin for saying that, but that's
well,
pretty.
You're telling me Miller Light, but I mean, hey. Pacifico. Here's actually, before we move into the next bit here, somebody asked, have you had a Bob Evans? I mean, I'm sure you know what that is, but yeah, breakfast for dinner in the South.
Yeah, I've never been to Bob Evans before, though.
Really? No. Okay. It's pretty good as far as like chain breakfast might go. We had some, there's some in Southern Illinois where I'm not from Southern Illinois, but south of here where I'm from. And it's pretty good. If you like biscuits and gravy too, they got some pretty good stuff, and it's reasonably priced. So can't go wrong on that.
I think that would be a fun, like, that's like a dream, not a dream, but it'd be something I really enjoy, was be able to just travel the world and try the best breakfast spots. I'm a big I like going to like hole in the walls too,
Yeah.
Yes. I'm from a small town in general, so like I appreciate the small businesses and stuff. So so it would be really I would enjoy that, just finding someone's grandma who's really good at cooking and just loves it, and she just wants to treat me like her own and make sure I'm fed. I would love to eat breakfast food like that all the time.
The Jace Sternberger U.S. tour. Tell your grandmas he's on the way.
Yeah.
So what's your? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's either gonna be a breakfast tour or my friends. Really, anybody who knows me just knows that like I go to a gas station every day, and like I'm very judgmental about gas stations, because I've been doing this since I was about 15, whatever. I get a Red Bull. That's like my drink of choice. Like, I don't drink soda or anything. So just I like drinking Red Bull only one a day though, just with my meals, just because I like the taste. And so I'm always going to gas stations. I used to have a really bad sweet tooth with like candy and whatnot, so I would always just go load up and stuff. And so I'm very particular about certain gas stations, and like I said, I'm from a small town, so there's certain gas stations that have restaurants inside of them and have some of the best food. If you ask me, like if you find the right one and stuff. And so I'm obviously Team Quick Trip because I'm in Green Bay and stuff. And so that's been my gas station of choice there.
Yep.
And so I really enjoy that. But yeah, I'm a big gas station connoisseur.
Okay. So what you mentioned hole in the wall, diners, places like that. What's your favorite breakfast spot in Green Bay then?
Put me on the spot. Just honestly, our cafeteria just at the facility, because like they make it fresh. And like I get my omelet. Like we don't do biscuits and gravy there, but I honestly, because my rookie year, I never really went anywhere just for breakfast, just because, like I said, they feed us at the facility. And then this year, I literally never got to go to any restaurants just because of COVID. So I guess I'm taking recommendations, and I'll post it on a blog later. Maybe I'll start that.
Okay, so there's two that I could think of in Green Bay specifically from when I lived there. Admittedly, I don't know if they're still open because COVID might have ruined that, but Julie's is one.
Okay.
And then there's a place called Oak Street Cafe, and that's really close to the stadium. So if you're ever heading back from there, those were the two places I would try. So give those a shot, and then I'll be the first person to subscribe to your blog.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jace, before we let you go, man, I have to ask you, why is there no burger deal yet for Jace Sternberger? Who do we got to talk to? A&W, Kroll's? What do we got to do?
I can't do A&W just because I've never had a burger from there, so I really don't know what it's like. But that would legit be one of my biggest things is or maybe it's because maybe people have heard how I always have to correct people. I'm always like, it's not like hamburger, it's BER. So maybe they thought they took it personal, but no, that's definitely something I want to do here. And it's almost happening when I was at A&M in Texas, but hopefully, like I said, after I take care of business on the field, we can get that going and then get my own burger going.
Well, speaking of getting it going, though, Jace, we for having you on the show, there's some T-shirts that Jacob and I are going to be wearing all season long.
Let's go.
How do you feel about that?
I love it.
Shout out to our guy Drew for putting those together. That's phenomenal.
I would really appreciate to wear one of those. Maybe I can sneak in a hoodie because I'm a big hoodie guy. Especially in Green Bay, it gets cold. I would only be able to wear that in like July, August, maybe.
What is it? Andrew Brandt used to always say there's only two seasons of Green Bay, winter and 4th of July. So that sounds about right. So we'll get you hooked up with a hoodie. You just tell Jake or myself where to send it, and we'll make sure that you get one of those. That won't be a problem at all.
Awesome.
All right. He's Jace Sternberger. He's the Packers tight end. He will be scoring touchdowns at a Lambeau Field and every other road stadium near you next season. We look forward to your breakout year coming up, Jace. Thanks for joining us on the show. I do want to put out a disclaimer. Jace is not driving because there are people that are really concerned.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% not driving. I actually, like I said, I've been talking about food this whole interview. We actually just went to my favorite barbecue spot. It's called Hard Eight. Literally amazing. Like, they cook all the meat in front of you, and you just go through this assembly line, and it's like every meat you can think of. You just, hey, I need a pound of this, and then you go to the next station, and then it's your fries, your sides, your potato salad, all that stuff, mac and cheese. Then you go to the next line, and it's your desserts, this and that. And so we just went and picked that up and stuff, and I had to make sure my buddy didn't get lost, so I had to make sure I rode with him.
I am booking a flight to Texas as we speak to
I'm gonna message you guys a picture of my plate in about 20 minutes.
Oh, I can't wait. Yes, please and thank you. So, Jace Sternberger.
What does a 250-pound tight end eat at the barbecue place? I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm a big right now. I go through phases. I used to be a big rib guy, but right now I'm obsessed with some good sliced brisket and sausage. Put a little on a sandwich with some mac and cheese, and then they have this incredible Oreo mud pie, like pudding thing. Yeah, it's a meal, all right.
Oh yeah, and he's not 250, Jake. Don't you remember from our interview? 242. That's the weight.
Exaggerating a little bit.
I got that one here. So, Jace, appreciate you joining us. We'll see you again at sometime this season, and thanks for joining us.
Sounds great. You guys have a good night.
All right, take care, buddy.
Yep.
All right, that was Jace Sternberger, tight end of the Green Bay Packers, number 87, Packers' third-year tight end coming up this upcoming season. And, Jake, we're supposed to be talking tight ends tonight, so what better way to segue into our topic for tonight, and that is the tight end position. And that's where I want to start, is one of maybe I don't think it's getting a lot of discussion as to a difficult decision that the Packers may very well have to make, but we don't know the salary cap situation full well, but we have at least a decent idea. It's going to be somewhere between 180 and 198. I've seen it speculated all over the place. Again, like I've mentioned on this show and just about everywhere else, I am not going to talk about it in definitive form until I know what that number is. That being said, Robert Tonyan is not your traditional restricted free agent from the standpoint of he's coming off of a really big season and coming off of a season where some team might say, hey, we could pay this guy. And if they pay that guy, then Green Bay may not be able to keep him. So my question I lob to you, Jake, is what do you do at the tight end spot with Tonyan? Do you tender him at the second round? Do you tender him at the low round and see what happens? Do you make sure that you get him locked up? I mean, where do you go with 85?
Man, I feel almost bad talking about this right now. You know what I mean? Like, we just had Jace on here, who's one of the nicest dudes that's probably ever played for the Packers. and those are his guys. You know, I know he's buddies with Rob. And so we talked about the human element of this sport. And, you know, the guys that understand this probably better than anyone are those guys, you know, and it is Robert Tonyan. And Robert's probably looking out there thinking, I want to get paid, you know, and I hope he does. But if I'm the Packers, I think what I do, it's pretty simple for me. If I'm in charge, I give him a second round tender, and I let the 31 other teams decide if he's going to be a Packer or not. If you want to sign him and get him his money, good for Robert, good for us, because we get a second, and I wish him the best. I hope he gets his all pro next year, you know, or whatever. But I do that because I still believe in the guy that we just had on the show. I still believe he's the most talented guy on the roster. And you look at what Tonyan was able to do last year with the Packers, and he's a good football player. No question, no doubt about it. He's a very good football player. But I think Jace can do a lot of the stuff that is schemed for the tight end in this position. I think Jace can do it at a higher level. I think he's a higher level athlete. And I think he is actually a guy that it does not have to be scheme dependent. I think he can actually go out there and win, you know, one-on-one. And I think that's what we saw at A&M coming out. We've seen it the last 2 years in Green Bay. He talked about this year, just, you know, this was a rocky year for him, and props to him for not making any excuses. I'll make it for him. Like, that's a rough go of it, you know.
And I'll cut you off there, because the word excuses has a negative, you know, connotation to it. Obviously, there aren't excuses. There are reasons. You know, for example,
right.
if the Packers lose to the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers doesn't start because he's injured, that's not an excuse. That's a reason. You don't plan for your starting quarterback not to play. When you come into a second season in what is still a relatively new offense to him, and you have COVID right off the jump, and then you're not right from a conditioning standpoint. And then you talk about, you know, nobody knew, you know, Jace, we all thought was a healthy scratch for the last, you know, 3-4 weeks of the season. He just told us he had strep throat and was sick. And in a COVID year, now you're talking about even more time away and more time to get back from the concussion protocol. It's not surprising at all that Sternberger was a scratch for the postseason or anything like that, with everything like that. So I don't think that's an excuse at all. Kudos to him for not using those as reasons, like you mentioned, but that's not an excuse. That's a reason. But yeah, please continue.
No, and I think that's just it. You know, I think Jason Z said it here too. Like, agreed, second round tender, if someone steals him, that he's theirs, he'll probably be a good player for them. And the Packers will be a second round pick richer with Sternberger coming back. Someone mentioned DeGuara coming back as well. Those are two really young, talented guys at the position. And then they have guys like Daphne and Lovett as well that I think they really like. And of course, we're going to talk about some guys in the draft that they've been doing some work on some tight ends.
Yeah, you just mentioned guys that they have on the roster, and you didn't mention the fact that Brevin Jordan or Tommy Tremble, one of those two guys, is going to be a Green Bay Packer.
It could happen. It could definitely happen. And we were talking about this in the DMs just last week, when you kind of try to sift through this and say, okay, so why are they doing work on the tight ends? And if you kind of want to read some of the tea leaves, maybe maybe it is very much just, okay, so let's be prepared in case we can't get Tonyan back, right? Let's be prepared and let's go out and get one of these guys. I could, I just said all that stuff about Tonyan, but also I could very much see the Packers being like, hey, listen, we've been looking for a tight end for a long time. And we love Sternberger, and we know that Robert Tonyan can do what he did. He can do, we think he can do that again. So I can totally see the Packers being like, like that Rascal Flatts song, Jacob, God Bless the Broken Road that led me straight to you.
No,
that's kind of what
no, I don't know.
The good people out there know what that song is. It's just about, trying to find true love and stumbling along the way a couple times. And, Jared Cook, Jimmy Graham, the guy that was the guy that was a jerk that used to be a Bear. Like they got lost a time or two. They wiped their brow. And they kept pushing through. They couldn't see how every sign was pointing straight.
Are you quoting lyrics?
Yeah, I am.
Because I'm not going to know what those are.
Rascal Flatts, baby. Jace would know it. What a line. Lambo. Jace would know it.
Yes, I know who Rascal Flatts is, but to say no, the only song that I know the lyrics to by Rascal Flatts is My Wish, and that's because it was my wife and her stepdad's first dance at our wedding. But otherwise, that's way over my head. So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot then. Yeah, but I'm going to put you on the spot then. What is your ideal situation then? If you could say today, this is how I want it. So for example, how you want it to happen at the running back situation, right? Is Aaron Jones comes back on a team-friendly contract and he pairs with A.J. Dillon and they just destroy everybody in the run game. That's probably not going to happen, but that's how you want it to happen. How do you want it to happen? Or what is the best situation you think for the Packers at this tight end position? Because I do have a pretty strong take on that too.
So I think in my perfect world is some team like the Jets or someone with a lot of cap space comes in. Thank you. And they say, hey, we're going to give up a second for this guy for Robert Tonyan because he's a culture guy. He's from the Packers. We're going to give up a second for him. We're going to pay him, which is good for him. So happy about that. And the Packers use that extra second round pick to draft someone like Amon-Ra St. Brown, De'Ami Brown, someone like that. And
we're not even talking about receivers, and you found a way to talk about.
I'm just saying, if they have an extra second round pick, they could do something like that. Right? They got a ton of flexibility, Jacob. Ton of flexibility in the draft. 2 second round draft picks, and they have 2 guys they love in DeGuara and Sternberger, who they're saying they're going to put up the same numbers. They're going to do the same thing that Robert Tonyan just did this last year. And now we have an extra second round pick on top of the second round pick we already have. And then in a perfect world, they pick Tommy Tremble with the 92nd pick, I believe it is. And they throw him into the mix as basically the guy that's going to replace Big Dog. For as much as we love Mercedes Lewis, they need to start looking at guys that are going to be able to replace him. It's a league. It's a league where guys get replaced all the time. And Tommy Tremble is a kid that is rare in his ability to kick your ass. Like if you haven't watched him with tight ends, we all talk about like, what's the fun tight end to watch? And like Sternberger is a great example of that. Sternberger's college tape is a blast. Some of the most fun tape you'll watch. Tremble is a blast as well, but in a different regard. Like he wants to steal your soul as a blocker. And he wants to do it every single play, and he's good at it. He's really good at it too. Ross and I were on Pack-A-Day this week talking about Tommy Tremble, and it was hilarious because his 2 guys that he comped were 2 guys that in the KC draft guide were the 2 guys that I put in as a comp as well. So, and we didn't even talk about it. And he said, you draft Tommy Tremble and you think you might have just gotten the next George Kittle. Because the way they're used in college and the way they block in college is very similar, and you see the athleticism within their route stem, within their route tree. Like Tommy Tremble is not a bad athlete. He's actually a really good athlete that just isn't really used in that way. And then the other guy that I compared him to, and almost verbatim Ross said this, is athletic Trayvon Wesco out of West Virginia. And he's a kid. He's with the Jets now. He's their fullback. He's a good player. So it's just a valuable skill set. And so to recap, I know I just made that a 10-minute segment on me talking about my dreams, but Robert Tonyan, gets signed, gets paid. Packers get a second. They use it on a playmaker on offense. They roll with Sternberger, DeGuara, and then add Tremble in the third round. That is my ideal scenario right there. And that doesn't involve bringing him back.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that, Tonyan, the phrasing that is used all the time for a quarterback, and it's kind of used negatively, is the system quarterback, right? And I think Tonyan is a system tight end, and that's fine because he's in the perfect system for him, and that would still be the case in Green Bay for what you would assume is the duration of the contract that he would get. Somebody asked earlier, and I did pull it up, and I apologize, it's gone now, but yes, they can sign him to a long-term deal. They can choose to do that. I'm guessing that they won't choose to do that just because it makes more sense financially for them to kick the can for one more year, make him prove it again kind of thing. But I'm with you. Find a team or hope that a team with a high second round pick wants to bring him in. And Tommy Tremble, one more comp I'll throw in for Packers purposes. He's a much more athletic version with the skill set and the ability to do the things that Josiah DeGuara does. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the way the Packers want to use Josiah DeGuara and all the things that they want to do with him, I think what the Packers value in this tight end spot, and we're going to get to this in a little bit from a philosophical standpoint, they want versatile chess pieces at the tight end position. You saw it when Sternberger was a rookie. They used him in the backfield. They used him in the slot. They used him in line. They used him all over the place. The only tight end that they really don't do that with now is Robert Tonyan. Mercedes Lewis to some degree as well, but that he's not under contract. So we're not going to spend too much time on that just at the moment. And I will say this about Mercedes Lewis as well is I love Big Dog. I love, what he's been for this team for the last 2 years, but Jake, I think you said it well on the old tweet machine the other day. Mercedes Lewis should not affect anything that the Packers do in terms of the draft. And I think a name that hasn't been brought up that could be a possibility that the Packers are looking at to try and get by on the cheap side of things is Isaac Nauta. And Nauta is that blocking just force as far as tight ends go. And is he as good as Mercedes Lewis? No, but you're not bringing Mercedes Lewis back for the vet minimum either. There's a level of, respect you have to give certain players that you can't just say, hey, Mercedes, money's tight. We'll get you for the vet minimum. Somebody will pay him a little bit more than that if that were the case. So I like the idea on that side of things. And something here, my guy Jay-Z, not to be confused with Hova here, but he said the Jets might be interested. Mike LaFleur's offense, previous experience with Kittle. He was Tunyan's mentor. I like that idea as well. That's a good thought on those side of things. But I'm with you. If the Packers can get an extra second, I know I said I got a little greedy once that bringing in Jonnu Smith with the other bit, but I think Jonnu Smith is one of those dudes that he's going to be like Trey Burton. People are like, oh, underutilized, really athletic. Somebody's going to pay him a ton of money, and it's going to be the Arizona Cardinals. Just go ahead and throw that prediction out there right now as far as that goes. But I like the idea of Tonyan getting a second-round pick, and then you just roll with – you don't need to go into the year with a given, quote-unquote, starting tight end. You can roll with Sternberger and DeGuara, and you mentioned Dominique Daphne, and something else that I want to get into because we were talking about philosophy. When I think of these tight ends, I look at the Packers tight end group separately from I split them into two groups. There's tight ends that are going to be inline, big slots, receivers, those kinds of things. So Jace Sternberger, Robert Tonyan, if he's here, Mercedes Lewis. And then I look at Josiah DeGuara and Dominique Daphne as the H-back versatile chess piece type thing that they've used recently. And they're just used differently than the other guys are. So I break them down that way. But I do think that the Packers want to see guys used in that role. And that's why I think you've seen the two guys that they've reportedly met with so far from this draft class are Brevin Jordan and Tommy Tremble. And that's the way that those guys can be used from that standpoint. So Jake, real quick before we go on, normally the way we do this, who's tight end one? This one's simple.
I gotta throw this out there. So Jace just sent me a DM and he said, I'm pissed I know Rascal Flats after that comment. So yeah, he knows who Rascal Flats is.
Thanks, Jace.
Country. What did he say his girlfriend called him? Country ass. Country ass.
I gotta find there's got to be a way to make like a T-shirt or something with an 87 on it that says "Country Ass." Jake, if we can get a pair of those next year at Lambeau, we'll wear those. Jace, you get us a suite. I'm kidding. I'm not that greedy.
There we go.
I'm not that greedy. But tight end 1 is Kyle Pitts, and there's no question about that. The question I have for you, Jake, is it's not is he the best tight end in this class? Is he's the best tight end prospect since
Hawkinson?
Hawkinson.
I
think he's better. Personally, I think he's better than Hawkinson.
I do too. But I'm just saying, like,
Noah Fant higher than TJ Hawkinson as well. So I was not that. And that's kind of the consensus. I wasn't as high on Hawkinson as some other people were. I really liked both of those Iowa tight ends. Just for example, for some of you guys too, as to where I rated that draft class. And you can find my tight end opinions if you'd like on the Cheesehead TV draft guide, which is going to be due for pre-sale here pretty quickly. But I had it as Fant, Hawkinson, and I rated Jace Sternberger above Irv Smith, which was kind of the consensus tight end 3, but just on those sides of things. Is there somebody other than Hawkinson that you can think of recently? Because I think Pitts is even another step up. Like, I think Kyle Pitts could be a top 5 pick, and I won't bat an eye.
No, Kyle Pitts is not. I mean, he's an alien, right? He's. If you want to use him in line, I think you can, because you look at him play and he gets like knocked because people say he can't block. It's not true. He can block. It's just not the best way. It's not the best way to use him, right? No. And he's just. I mean, his flexibility that he has, in his hips and ankles it's absurd. And the only guy I can really think of in my lifetime that I think you can compare to him is Kellen Winslow Jr. when he came out of Miami.
I was going to say OJ Howard was the last,
but even OJ Howard, man, like OJ Howard is more of a linear guy. And I think Kellen Winslow is even more of a linear guy. I think the first thing in my scouting report for Kyle Pitts is he's a Gumby type receiver, right? Like the way he bends. And
if he was a wide receiver, is he wide receiver 1?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I think that's crazy, right? I mean, when you could be the number 1 prospect of both positions.
He's the best pass catcher. He's the best pass catcher in this draft class. Absolutely. And I love Jamar. I love Jamar Chase. I'm a big Jamar Chase fan. But when you're 6'6", 245 and can do a lot of the things that Jamar Chase can do, yeah. I'd be happy with either of those guys. So I think, he's the best guy in this class, hands down. I think I said the other night on the Arrowhead Pride one, I think there's 4 guys in this class that could be really high level starters, and that's Pitts, obviously, Pat Fairmuth out of Penn State, Tommy Tremble out of Notre Dame, Brevin Jordan, Miami, and then I think that's 4, and then you have Hunter Long, who I think could be a good player. And then I think it's everyone else in this draft class. Like, this is a pretty good group at the top, but as far as beyond that, I'm not sure what the depth of this class is. And I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that, Jacob, because I know you're Mr. Tight End Writer 1 for the Cheesehead TV draft guy. What are your thoughts on this year's draft class?
I'm with you. I think that, so my top 3, spoiler alert, are Kyle Pitts, duh. Brevin Jordan, also kind of duh. And then I have Tremble as tight end 3 with Pat Freiermuth right behind him. And I actually really like the idea of someone like Freiermuth in the Packers offense as well, just because that Penn State just seemed, maybe I'm just oversold on Mike Gesicki. I don't know, but I loved Gesicki coming out of Penn State, but they just seem to churn out guys at that position. He's not the athlete that Gesicki is, but I mean, honestly, not a lot of people are. Gesicki was just a freakazoid athlete when he came out and was ultimately drafted by the Miami Dolphins. And you kind of saw they started to reap some of the benefits of that selection this year. And I think he could be even primed for an even bigger breakout season next year. Even if they don't acquire Deshaun Watson, to be quite frank with you, I think that Tua will be just fine with him as well. But those are my big 4. And honestly, after that, I'm kind of in the spot, especially with Green Bay. And a lot of my draft thoughts kind of get slanted towards the Packers in general anyways, is pick one in the top 100 or don't pick one at all. I don't see a whole lot of, if Tunyon's not around, then that might change that thinking a little bit, but there's always a veteran tight end. Somebody said earlier that, Delaney Walker was looking to play. That's somebody you could bring in for like dirt minimum cheap, and you can do something. And there are always guys like that you can bring in. And frankly, Peter Bukowski brought this up, and it was kind of his point as to maybe why letting Tunyon walk would be, the best use of their resources is, can you run and catch? That's what you're asking the tight ends to do. And if they can scheme, I'm not saying they could scheme up 56 catches and 12 touchdowns like they did for Bob last year, but if you could scheme up some of that as a replacement and get that third-year jump from Sternberger, which is where you usually get that leap from tight ends, and get a little bit more out of Josiah DeGuara and a pass catcher or two that you draft, and then I think you replace that production relatively simple. But I'm right there with you. I think draft one of those 4 guys that I just mentioned, or don't draft one at all, because you mentioned Hunter Long from the Packers standpoint. He just doesn't do a whole lot for me. If the Packers are going to draft somebody, I want them to get a athlete at that position, if that makes any sense at all. And I think that, and really what I'm saying is when I draft one of those 4, it's draft one of those 3, because he won't be their guy, but Kyle Pitts ain't making it to 29, and the Packers aren't trading up from 29 to 4, which is what it might take to draft him. But I think if they can get Brevin Jordan is somebody, and these are guys that, tight ends typically take a while, but those are guys that I think you can find a role for them immediately in Matt LaFleur's offense and get some production out of. You saw the way they were using DeGuara this past season, and that's the way I think that you could use them right away.
I think going back to last year when they took DeGuara, I think it was like Jeff Schwartz or someone on Twitter was like, "Oh, they took DeGuara. I thought they liked Sternberger," something like that. And Jace clapped back and was like, "Yeah, we run a lot of 12 personnel in this offense." And he's right. They do. This is a team that I think Matt LaFleur, he don't care. He's like, give me 4 guys I can play. I don't care. I'll figure out a way to get them all on the field. And you look at just how this offense is being built when you look at the receivers they have and how massive they are. And if you look at the receivers in this offense, it seems to me that you need to be a big guy. You need to be willing to block, because everything is predicated on the run game in this wide zone scheme. So if you're not going to do those things on the edge, if you're not going to do those things as a tight end, you're not going to play. So I don't think LaFleur cares. I think he's just like, man, just give me if you give me 3 tight ends, 4 tight ends, I don't care. In fact, he might prefer it. That might be how he wants to run his offense. We're still seeing this offense being built in Matt LaFleur's image, if you will, of how he wants this thing to basically run. And so we're getting into year 3 of it, and that might be 12, 13 personnel, where you have these tight ends that are versatile, like Jace, like DeGuara, they can kick in line, they can kick out in the slot, they can play out wide. You can give different looks. It's the illusion of, what's that phrase I'm thinking?
Illusion of Complexity, which is a wonderful name of a podcast hosted by a wonderful woman and 2 morons, I must say.
She told me I had to leave today after my Rascal Flatts quote.
I like her even more.
I'll let that slide. Jason and I, big Rascal Flatts fans, so y'all can suck it. I forgot what I was talking about, man. It's just a lot of tight ends could be awesome. Where else that position is really helpful is on special teams, where the Packers could use some help.
Any help, and that's one name Sam Hallman brings in is Ben Mason, he was fullback, tight end, actually played a little defensive tackle at the University of Michigan this past season as well. And one thing I can tell you is, as much flack as Jim Harbaugh gets at Michigan, and some of it's deserved, some of it I think isn't, but that's not what this show's about. His special teams, wherever he's been, whether it's Stanford, San Francisco, Michigan, they're always good. And it's because of guys like that. So if you draft a guy in the later rounds because of that, then I don't think that's the worst use of it. But if you're drafting, like I said, if you're drafting a tight end, I think you should be targeting somebody that is going to add a dimension that this offense doesn't necessarily have, or pairing them if in case like Sternberger continues to have bad luck or doesn't work out for whatever reason, finding that Jace is the most athletic tight end on this team. There's no question about that. And then, like I mentioned, if you have DeGuara and Dominique Daphne, those guys are different. I know some guys in here are mentioning John Lovett. Me personally, I'll be surprised if he's on the team. Daphne was in practice and played for 1 week and was already more productive and showed more than Lovett did before he got injured. So I don't anticipate a whole lot out of that. But Jake, let's talk a little bit. Let's get at the end here because we're running way over on time here, but what do you think the percentage chances are? Let's not say first 5 rounds, which is the way we normally do. What do you think the percentage chances are that the Packers take someone in the first 3 rounds, the top 100 at the tight end position?
Oh man, the work they've been doing on that position is interesting to me. I'd still say 50%.
What up, Odie?
Which is pretty high. Hey, it's Odie's birthday today, actually, too.
Happy birthday, Odie.
Odie, say hi to the people. Yep, there he is. It's his birthday.
The star
6
of
years
the
old.
show.
6 years old. Yeah, so Lambo Label says 25%. I think 50% is kind of high, even to say at any position, but I think they're doing work there for a reason. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, if they're going to take one, they're going to take one high. Or I think there's not much left beyond it. But who knows?
And I'm right there with you. I think it's 50%. I've said go ahead and pencil in Tommy Tremble or Brevin Jordan, and I will not be surprised if you get the announcement with the 62nd pick or whatever it is that the Packers take Brevin Jordan. I don't know if Jordan's going to make it that far. I also won't be surprised if Tommy Tremble is the pick there either. I know that is something that'll drive people nuts if that happens, but if there's anything we've learned, Brian Gutekunst does not give a damn about your draft board. He cares about his, and that is it. And frankly, he's been right more often than not. This Packers team is 26-6 in his 2 full seasons as the Packers general manager, if you will, if you include that first season as a wash, which I think is fair to do. But I have said it. Go ahead and pencil in the 92nd pick or whatever number it is as Tommy Tremble. I just think he smells, looks, breathes, acts like a Green Bay Packer. Tight end, versatile chess piece, went to Notre Dame. Gutekunst really cares about that pedigree type stuff too, likes players from those big schools, things of that nature. So I really do. I think they're going to pick a tight end at some point. I like the idea of Brevin Jordan in this offense as well. You know, that he has that yards after catch ability that the Packers offense, frankly, other than Adams, hasn't really come to fruition just yet in this offense. And that's something that maybe their yak guy is a tight end but in addition to a wide receiver, because we talked last week, and I do think they're going to take a receiver or 2 at some point in this draft. But I won't be surprised if that is Brevin Jordan. And Jake, like you mentioned, they've met virtually with him, and there's some smoke that they really like him. Maybe not at 29, but early.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a top 75 pick. I think both those guys will be. So if they like one of them, they're not going to be sitting there around 4 or 5. So get your guy.
Same idea as, you know, what they used when they took DeGuara when they did, which is, you know, they could have gotten him later, but Dalton Keene then went 4 picks later or whatever the number was. And that's basically the same kind of player on that side of things. But yeah, overall, big takeaway from the tight end group, and as it pertains to the Packers, is either get a big one or don't get one, is kind of the way that I look at it. Like I mentioned, get one of those top 3 or 4 guys. So the 3 guys that I would mention if Pitts is unattainable, Freiermuth, Tommy Tremble, Brevin Jordan, those are your guys that I think you need to grab if you're going to grab one at all. Jake, any final thoughts before we sign off?
I don't think so, man. That was good. That was a fun one today.
Yeah, it was. It was fun. I appreciate. We want to thank Jace Sternberger, obviously, for coming on our show. Again, you can follow him _Jace Stern. Look forward to the breakout season that is coming next year. I think we just predicted it 1 season too early, and maybe it would have happened had we had some better luck throughout the course of the season as well. But I look forward to seeing 87 in the end zone again quite a few times next season. But in the meantime, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Game On Wisconsin, at Game On WI on Twitter, at Game On WI on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube page. That's where you're going to find the vast majority of our content, and hit that little bell in the top right corner. That's going to tell you. I got a lot of people saying, I don't know 100% when you guys are going live. That's how you're going to know. And check us out every single week. There's a lot of good stuff coming through. You know, Tuesday nights, we have draft day. Last night, they picked musical bands, which was fun. Dan Kotnick hosts that every Tuesday. Tomorrow night, we'll have open book with Eli Berkovid, Zach Jacobson, and Jen Mackey. And we're getting in some interesting stuff here as the time passes. But Jake, it's March. We're almost getting to that time of the year where it's almost draft season. And then next week we'll be doing a real position where real men play, guards and centers, with my guy, my father, Owen Reese at Reese Draft will be joining us next week to talk offensive linemen, where I could say you can never have too many good offensive linemen, and the Packers certainly have some needs and such along that way. So we look forward to talking with Owen next week. You can follow Jake on Twitter. He's at Jake Morley, at Jacob Morley. And that always confuses me because you're Jake Stack in other places.
I'm 1,000 things.
1,000 things, none of them good. And I'm at Jacob Westendorf, also 1,000 things, and none of them good. But thank you guys for listening this week. We appreciate you stopping by. And thank you once again to Jace Sternberger and stopping by with us. We'll see you guys next week.